I'm your science teacher. We are learning chapter 14, natural resources. Today we are going to see two topics, the water cycle and the nitrogen cycle. Now, we have learned couple of things in terms like uh, how does the soil is formed, water, air. Now the next is biogeochemical cycles. Now we have essential things in our. The first is water. Now the water itself is a wonderful liquid, right? Now we already learned that in this one, the water, it has a cycle, like it goes from one form to another and it goes another form to and it keeps on retaining its level. So the first, we already know the water evaporates from the water bodies, right? And subsequent condensation is again converted back into liquid, right? Evaporate means a water convert into vapor, and this vapor when condensed again converted into water, right? From its vapor form and leads to rain, right? But we don't see this seas and oceans drying up, right? So how is the water returning to these water bodies? Think a little. The whole process in which the water evaporates and falls into a land and again flow back into sea, which we call it as a water cycle. Okay, so how does a water cycle works? It's like the water evaporates, it goes to the air, right? The cloud forms and the rain happen back, and the water again come back to the sea. So most of the evaporation happens to the sea. Understand this small thing. Most of the evaporation happens in the sea. This cycle is not as straightforward and simple, right? If you see here, see this one. So from sea, the water evaporates, it becomes cloud, and it forms the rain. But the evaporation is not only happen through sea. There are many things, right? Through which the water goes to the air. It also happens through transpiration. Now this water is taken up by plants also, right? So plants give this water with the process of transpiration, even respiration, right? That water goes through that through respiration also, and come back to the earth in form of rain only. So this cycle is not straightforward as what I said, right? All this the water that falls on the land and does not immediately flow back into the sea. Some of it seeps into the soil. Seeps into the soil, you know that the water is under the reservoir also. It is under the reservoir. Reservoir means underground. Now, where does this water come from? It sips. During rain, the water sips into the earth and it becomes the fresh water. Now, this fresh water comes out in terms of the springs, right? You have seen somewhere the hot springs, or you can see we will also dig out the water through wells or tube wells, right? So this is how the water goes and come back. Now water is also used by terrestrial animals like plants and animals for the life processes. We know we all require water. So this is how the water goes from one form to another. As the water flows, right, through rocks and other, so when they flow from rocks, there are many important minerals that dissolve into it, which goes to the which goes to marine, and the marine animals get all these nutrients from that thing. So this is how the whole cycle works. I hope you understand. Water evaporates, goes to the air, it condenses and come back in form of a rain. So this is how a water cycle works. Now we are going to see is the nitrogen cycle. Now see, nitrogen is one of the very important component in our life processes. Yes, nitrogen, if you think about an air, our atmosphere contains 78% of nitrogen. Really? right? 78 percentage of nitrogen is there in our atmosphere, right? Now nitrogen as a part. Now nitrogen is also important in terms of essential, right? Nitrogen is also a part and many molecule essential to life like proteins. So in order to make protein we require nitrogen, right? Nucleic acid, DNA, RNA, right? So all these things we require, and some vitamins. So everywhere the nitrogen is very important. But what is our problem? We cannot take this nitrogen directly from atmosphere. Exactly. So that is our biggest problem. Yes. Neither we or plants or animals can take directly nitrogen from atmosphere. Only there are few. So then how does the nitrogen come? So what happen is nitrogen first of all can be found, right, in terms of alkaloids and urea. You know, the farmers used to spread those urea fertilizers. So that was nothing but a nitrogen. Now how does again the nitrogen come? My question is, so nitrogen is thus essential, right? However, there are few forms of bacteria, yes, that convert the inert nitrogen molecule into nitrates and nitrites. Yes, so these are the bacteria which convert nitrogen into nitrates and nitrites, which we call it as nitrogen fixing bacteria. Okay, so who are the one that converts the nitrogen? Nitrogen fixing bacteria that converts the nitrogen into nitrates and nitrites. Now, right, and this bacteria can be found on where? The species of dicot plants. Now if you move further, right, if you move further, the nitrogen fixing bacteria are found, yes, where do they found? Under the roots of plants, right, under the roots of plants in terms of legumes, right, especially the pulses plants, right? Other than this bacteria, the only manner that convert the nitrogen is by physical process. Physical process means the way we prepare urea and all. The third is through lightning. Whenever the lightning happen during rain, the high temperature and pressure convert the nitrogen into oxides of nitrogen. So there are three ways I told you. First thing is nitrogen fixing bacteria. The second thing is lightning, and third is the physical process. This, now what happened to this oxides? So when this oxides falls on land, plants take this nitrates and nitrites and convert into amino acids. So who take this nitrogen? Plants, right? We also cannot take it. Plants take this nitrates and nitrites and convert them into amino acids, which are used to make protein. Now, right? Second, who consume them? Right? Animals can consume them, right? Animals, these proteins are then another complex are subsequently consumed by animals and we human beings. Now when this plants and animal dies, again, now what happened? This is how the nitrogen comes to the earth and this is how it's been utilized. But the question is how it goes back to the atmosphere. So what happened is this nitrogen, when the plants and animals dies, I'll show you the cycle, right? There is a bacteria that convert this nitrogen back. There is a bacteria, right, that convert this nitrogen back into nitrates and nitrites. And there is one more different type of bacteria which convert the nitrates and nitrites into elemental nitrogen. So there are two types of other bacteria which converts plants and animals or human beings which after die convert into nitrites and nitrates, and there is another bacteria which convert nitrites and nitrates into elemental nitrogen and, right, elemental nitrogen. Okay, so this is how the nitrogen goes back to the atmosphere. This is how the nitrogen goes back to the atmosphere. Okay, So this is the whole process. If you see here, see, nitrogen fixation bacteria, it goes to plants, ammonia, nitrite, nitrites, and atmosphere. Then again, nitrification is the process, and industrial fixation, nitrate and nitrites. Okay, and the other one is the plants. So this is how the whole nitrogen cycle works. So I hope you understand what I'm trying. Two cycles very important. Please look at it, watch it very properly. Okay, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next session.